Hello everybody, it's Catherine from Jayne Catherine on Books, and I thought I'd bring you today a new episode of News and Reviews, and these are some books that I've been reading recently that I haven't wrapped up for any of the readathons or any of the other videos that I posted in May. And they're mainly made up of non-readathon books. There's a couple that are left over from May that were part of the readathon, but I hadn't quite managed to get finished. And yeah, a few bits of news to bring to you. So let's have a look at the books first. First one I want to ring you. You can ring me. Wintergirls by Laurie, Halse, Anderson. I finished this off after May, and I didn't include it in my May stats. This was for Mental Health-a-thon, and this is featuring eating disorders, and I have to say I only gave it 2 stars. I wasn't that thrilled with it. I didn't think that it was good messages. I think the messages that it gave weren't strong enough and weren't the right kind of messages. Obviously that's my own personal opinion, but it even gave tips on how, if people want to you know, if they have issues and they do have an eating disorder, there's even tips in here of how to hide it from you know, the parents and the adults. And I thought that was highly inappropriate, you know, that sort of teaching people things that to be secretive instead of getting help for it. So I'm sorry, I have to say I didn't really like it. I do believe that Laurie Halse Anderson is quite revered on BookTube. I have heard her name mentioned, especially over in the States, by some of the girls that really love contemporary fiction, but I didn't think it was good enough really, and I certainly wouldn't want one of my teenagers, if I had a teenager still, wouldn't want one of mine to be reading it. No. So that's that one. Next one I was finishing that I did include in my stats, which you'll get a video, my last video that I did, is The Memory Keeper by Fiona Harper. And I picked this up for a bit of a change. I didn't expect it to be so appropriate for Mental Health-a-thon, and it was in my box of books that I hauled last. I think it was way back in March when I did the March Mystery Madness, and I just thought, oh, this will be just something a little bit different, because some of the mental health books can get a little bit heavy. However, I really liked this book. I gave it 4 stars. It's more of a family drama, but it's a family drama based around a mother who has OCD, and there are 2 sisters, Heather, and I'm trying to think what her other sister was. Did I write it down here somewhere? I didn't. Can't think what the oldest girl is. Anyway, can't remember her name at the moment. And Heather is the main character in this really. It's coming from her voice, and the mother's recently passed away. And it starts off really about the life and how the 2 girls are coming to terms with the mother dying. And then it goes back to when they were children and what it was like to live in a house where their mother was so obsessed with shopping and hoarding that they couldn't move around in this house. They could hardly sit down because of stuff everywhere. There was hardly any space to make any meals in the kitchen because of all the rubbish. And it really affected this family. It caused a breakdown in the relationships, and I thought the rep for OCD was excellent. I think it was very well portrayed. It really gave you a good idea what it must be like to actually suffer from OCD, and in this there has been a trigger which actually affected the mother to cause her to be this way, and also you can see traits of it in Heather, and it's her journey through that and acknowledging it. There's a little bit of a love interest in there, which is quite nice, and it was just a thoroughly enjoyable book, but also hit on important topics. And as I say, you know, as the last one I felt was bad rep for eating disorders, I thought this was excellent rep for OCD. Two different generations really as well in there, so I thoroughly enjoyed that. So that's those two. Then I thought, oh, I need a bit of a cosy crime, I need something now light and fluffy, and who do I turn to but our Hamish? Oh yes, our Hamish Macbeth, up in the Scottish Isles, MC Beaton, Death of a Village. This is number 19. Number 19 in my series of Hamish. I still love him. Still love Hamish. And guess what? Oh yes, there's been a mother. There's been a mother. And Hamish is the man of the moment. He's the man at the scene. I gave it 4 stars. I don't often, for my cosy crimes, I don't often for Hamish. They really rattle around 3.5, but every now and again there's one that really I enjoy more than the others, and this was that. And it's a village close by, and it's called Death of a Village because it's like a ghost town whenever he goes. There's something really strange going on, and they all have turned to religion, and they're all there in church every day, which is very unusual for this village. And yeah, they get to the bottom of what's been going on there, and they get to the bottom of the murder. Thoroughly enjoyable. And the usual Hamish, he's a bit of a lad, you know, he's a good policeman, but you know, he doesn't care about rules and regulations and doing the dumb thing that pleases the hierarchy, as it were. So I think that's why I love him so much. We always have a bit of love interest in there. You know, he's one of those lovable rogues that I think all the women fancy. So yes, thoroughly enjoyed a bit of light relief. Hamish. Then I've been on a bit of a historical kick, and next I read C.S. Quinn, and this is The Thief Taker. Big book, really floppy, large size paperback, quite difficult to hold. And we've got 4, I think, in this series, but I've only just got round to it. David's read all 4, have you? All 4. Really enjoying this series. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. I did notice afterwards on Goodreads that it's had a little bit of a panning. A lot of people really didn't like it, so I understand that if you're one of the purists, the historical purists, some people were saying they didn't think that some of the historical content was that accurate, and a lot of people felt it was just like a zombie book. Well, I actually think that what came first was the plague, and zombies are modern day take on that, so I don't think it's the other way around. And I actually thought that the representation of the plague was really good. It was quite graphic, but it really made you realise how the plague spread through London, how families just died in droves, and how people were locked in the houses till they died in pain so that other people were infected. It was quite horrendous really, and I felt personally that was represented very well. So we're at historical fiction, we're in 1665. So I always remember from history, 1665 the plague, 1666 the Great Fire of London. Anyway, it says Black Death ravages London, a killer stalks the streets in a plague doctor's hood and mask. So what they used to do is the doctors that used to go and treat people, well, did what they could for them because there was no treatment, that everybody died, used to wear protective suits that I think looked like a beak very much quite scary actually. Iron, very well protected, and like a bird's beaky face, very scary. So if you can imagine, we've got this scary doctors walking round, and one of them actually isn't real. He isn't there in his bona fide job, shall we say. He's a murderer. Oh yes, he's a nasty piece of work, and he's going round murdering people, mainly women. And he you get to know that. I won't say too much here because there's a sort of a backstory, and there's things going on politically in Parliament with the King, and all sorts of treachery going on. So it's all heavily involved in this. I thought it was a really good plot. The thief taker is Charlie Deep. No, he's not. Yes, he is. He is.
Tuesday.
Oh yes, thank you, David. Do you know what? It's called Charlie Tuesday. Thank you, David. Do you know what I've read here? The terrifying pursuit will take Charlie deep into the black underbelly. No grammar in there. So I'm thinking his name was Charlie Deep. Oh yeah, curly teeth. Anyway, it's called Charlie Tuesday, and it's a good job David's read them. What happened in those days, and the most famous thief takers of those of you that are au fait with British history, was the Bow Street Runners. They were thief takers, but they were slightly before, I think. Were they slightly before? This is all just going downhill. This shows you what my history knowledge is like. Anyway, they were, if you know of the Bow Street Runners, and what they used to do is they used to go and run after thieves and run after the baddies and catch them and like do a citizen's arrest type of thing on them. But you did have these registered thief takers that were sort of sponsored, paid by the magistrates of the various boroughs. And Charlie Tuesday is one such thief taker. And he goes into deep, the Charlie Tuesday goes deep into the black underbelly of old London. This is turning into a blinking comedy routine. It's supposed to be serious historical fiction. Anyway, he really has been tasked to get to the bottom of what these murders are about. And not an easy task, may I add. You know, they're in the middle of the plague, and everywhere is not really safe to be because of the infection. And yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I sometimes think you've got to read a book and make your own mind up. I don't look at the reviews till after. I wouldn't know whether some of the historical content is exacting. There's enough, and as you can see, it won't make much difference to me, would it? Yeah, you know, it's a long time ago, you know. It was a long time ago when I did my history GCSE O level, so you can let me off. I liked it. I'm going to continue with the series. The next one, let me have a look here and try and get the names right. Oh yes, the Corset. I'd seen this on Janet's channel, Swirly Girly Reads. I love Janet, she's lovely. And I saw this and I thought, oh, look at that cover. But then when you get to see the end papers, we've got lovely peacock feathers, but I don't know if you can see, it doesn't focus into our camera on so much. There's skulls on there. And again, historical fiction. For those of you who may know Laura Purcell, she wrote The Silent Companions. Many people on BookTube have read that. I've not read it yet, so I'd like to, because I thoroughly enjoyed this. I gave this 4 stars as well. And this is, it's in the time where the classes were very evident, the different classes. We've got Dorothea, obviously she came from an upper class, she's wealthy, she comes from a family of standing, and the thing they used to do is do some charity work, because they didn't often work in their own right. They'd go off and do good, you know, do good for good works in the community. And so Dorothea gets involved in doing good works in prison, in the local prison, which is Oakgate prison in London. And in there we get to know there's a young girl in there called Ruth Batterham. Now she's obviously completely opposite to Dorothea. She's from a lower social standing, she's from a lower class, she's had really a tough life, and you get to know why she's ended up in prison. So we get the two stories really running alongside each other. We have Dorothea's story and we have Ruth's story, and we get back in time where you get a feel for what they've gone through in their life and what's led them to this point in time where Ruth is in prison and she's on trial for murder, and Dorothea is sort of fighting her cause. It's not altogether altruistic though, because she has this interest in phrenology, and phrenology is actually the study of the skull, the lines and the shape of it, and all the knobbles and sticky outy bits that we have on our skull. And she's very interested in that, and she's got this theory that the shapes and the size of our skull is very much not photographed, but it's very much a representation, shall we say, of people's personalities. And she very much thinks that murderers have got certain characteristics on their skull that all match. So that you can do this phrenology, and you can, like, it's like reading I suppose it's like having a crystal ball, but you read in the skull, you know. And so she wants really to be able to read Ruth's skull to see if her theories are proven right, that murderers have certain shapes and bumps and whatever. So she, you know, she's not altogether doing it for good intention, shall we say. We get to know a lot about haute couture. And Ruth has been involved in slavery, really. It's like historical slavery, of working every hour that God gives to sew beautiful gowns for the rich and famous. And obviously there's a front, there's this haute couture fashion house, which is, you know, very elegant and very elaborate, and all the trappings of the beautiful gowns and everything. And then behind the scenes there's these poor girls that are making these outfits, living in poverty-stricken conditions, really. And so you get to know a lot about that, and that is a very important part of what makes Ruth Ruth, and in a way it will lead you to understand why she's in prison for the murder. So that's all I'm going to say, really. I felt that it was an excellent plot. I felt that the characters of Dorothea and Ruth were very well written, and a little slow in places. So, you know, it's not I didn't feel that it's a fast-paced plot. I think it's plot together with the characters were both very good, hence the 4 stars, and I think they both worked. But just lost a star for me because in times it did get a little bit ploddy. But that's only a minor criticism really. I think it's a beautiful book and well worth a read. So that's The Corset by Laura Purcell. Then, call that another historical fiction, Blackberry and Wild Rose. Beautiful cover there, look at that. This is by Sonia Velton. The joy of love, the beauty of silk, and the cruelty of betrayal. I can't remember if this is the one that's got a beautiful... No, it's just quite plain really. I thought that had got a beautiful cover as well. No, not got any end papers. I don't know why I thought that it had. So another historical fiction, and I enjoyed this as well. I gave it 4 stars. This is a debut by this author and I felt that it was excellent. Again, it's very similar to The Corset in that we've got 2 main characters, come from totally different backgrounds. We've got Sarah and we've got Esther. And Esther has married one of the Huguenot silk weavers. Now the Huguenots came over from France, they originated in France, and at the time, you know, back in, I'm not sure what date line we're in with this one, 1768. It was 1768 when I first met Esther Thurl. So there's an unlikely friendship or association, you can mildly call it a friendship, between Sarah and Esther. And in a way, Esther rescues Sarah, who's having a bit of a bad time. So that's where I think there's similarities with The Corset. They're completely different, but you know, there's 2 characters. One is better off than the other and one is rescued. Now Sarah, actually, it was quite a sad backstory, but she ends up working for a brothel madam and again doing good. Esther rescues her and gets her to come and work for her, and her husband is one of the prominent silk weavers. He's got a silk weaving business in London, very highly revered and you know, very high standing, and so she has all the trappings of being the wife of him. And it's a story of the 2 lives and interweaved with things that happened in history around the time of the silk weavers and how some people were taken advantage of. You've got the silk masters, and then they used to buy the silk in and they pay a pittance for the normal public, as it were, the lower classes, to do all the hard work. And there was a bit of an uprising, and so we've got all that going on, and very beautifully intertwined. I think it was very cleverly done. Again, liked both characters. I liked the information and the scene really that was set about how the silk weavers were and how their businesses worked and what was going on at the time. That was really, really interesting. But there's strange things going on, and who can we trust? And you know, I can't say too much about the plot because it's all finely weaved. That was clever, weren't it? Silk weavers and weaved. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Get on with it. Get on with it, says my husband. It's because I've been, you know, shut away in bed for ages with this here shingles. I've had shingles and it's been terrible. So it's very cleverly done. Very good plot. You really, although again slowish paced, you're really wanting to not put it down. You want to find out what's happening. You want to know, can you really trust Ruth? Can you really trust Esther? And what about his husband and all his gang of, I wouldn't say that they were honourable, shall we say, his unhonourable friends. What are they all up to? And yeah, I think it's just worth you reading it. It's very difficult to say any more than that without giving much away, and also it's very intricate. The plot's quite intricate, I felt, so sometimes those books are not always easy, are they? And then finally, I'll put the picture up here because this is one that I got from the publishers via NetGalley for a review. It is out now, and this is The Passengers by John Mars. And this is a thriller, and boy is it a thriller. I gave it 5 stars. It was one of those books at first that you think you're going to, well, I felt like this. I felt like I was going to DNF it because it takes a while to get into it, and it's quite slow to start with. And basically, we're not too far in the future of our Earth, our present Earth, in the not too distant future, and we have driverless cars, and I don't think it's beyond the realms of possibility, because I've heard somewhere some mention of people thinking along these lines, and there are driverless cars, and it starts with, I can't remember if there's 8, I can't remember the exact number, it doesn't really matter. Driverless cars that go and pick up people from their homes, and obviously they're going wherever, from A to B, because they need to be taken there, either to work or to visit family or whatever. And they get into these driverless cars, and it soon becomes apparent that they're locked in, that they can't escape, and actually the controls have been taken over by somebody that's hacked into the computer systems, and basically is controlling where these cars go. And they all get a message to say, this car's being taken over, you're all on a destination, all the same destination, and in I don't know if it was an hour and a half or something, you're all going to be dead. You're all going to be dead. You're all going to crash. You're all going to be dead. So you can imagine, that was, crikey, what's going on here? So bear with it to start with, because, it gets, at first you're getting to know all the characters, a little bit about their backstory, a bit about the family lives, and it's not that exciting. I've got to be honest, it's not that exciting, but that's not for too long, and I can understand why it had to be done that way, really. So bear with it. Do not DNF this, because this is, I gave it 5 stars. It's a wow book, wow story. Now the other side of town, we have a jury. And this has to be held in a secret location. And we have, goodness me, what is her name? I will put it here when I look it up. I can't remember her name. She has been called to jury service. And the jury service is really just looking at accidents that have happened involving these driverless cars. And it soon becomes very apparent that it isn't a very fair system. It isn't a very, without fault really. It's very flawed, and people are losing their lives really because of errors of the driverless cars. But the jury never seems to make the driverless cars guilty. They always get away with it. So yes, it's very, very flawed. But very soon, this character, I really wish I'm just going to stop it a minute because it's important what her name is. So I'm going to stop it. It's Libby. Don't know why I forgot that, but I did. It's Libby. I had to just look at my review then on Goodreads. So Libby soon realises all isn't what it seems. But they become locked in too. So as this big event is becoming known worldwide, these jurors are also, without realising it, have become embroiled in the whole thing. A bit like a terrorist plot, really. It's just so cleverly done. You know, as you get to know more about the passengers and you get to know what faith they're from or what they've done in their life, or you start to, what it does really cleverly, this book, is it makes you look at your own perception of people, your own beliefs. Sometimes, you know, we can say, right, we don't look at things negatively. You know, there isn't racism, there isn't, people aren't, what's the word when they're against various faiths? I can't think of the word for it, but they're against various faiths, like say for the Jewish community or the Muslim community or whatever. Many have different thoughts and feelings about all sorts, and it makes you dig even deeper into just even the slightest thing that you think, really, could I do better? Could I not think that anymore? Could I change that? Does that sort of make sense? That you're really looking at your own inner feelings, your own integrity, really. And I thought that was very cleverly done. But the plot gathers pace, it gathers pace, it gathers pace. You're there and thinking, oh my goodness, we're getting nearer and we're getting nearer. I once remember watching I can't remember what the film is, where there was a runaway train and it was out of control and that was going to crash. And it just reminded me of that.
What with Denzel?
With Denzel Washington in?
Yeah.
Can't think what it was called though.
Yeah, when they were going around it.
Yeah.
Yeah, can't think.
We can't think. We're both rubbish. And it's gathering pace, but there are some graphic scenes in it. There are things that happen along the way. Not everybody gets to the crash point. And, we're dealing with terrorists, really, aren't we? And, really there's that unpredictability about it. And that's what I liked. I just really loved it. I thought it was excellent. I thought that it was very clever. The plot is very clever. And I didn't guess the ending. I didn't guess who the perpetrators were. In fact, I guessed the opposite. I sort of thought I'd guessed at who was involved in a way, but they weren't the most significant person that caused all this. So I love it when I'm wrong. And you really felt for those characters, some of them. You really felt for them, and you were really thinking, oh goodness, you felt as anxious as them. I'm holding my hands here now, just talking about it. Ooh. So yeah, check out my full review on Goodreads. I highly recommend it. It's only just come out, so yeah. It's already got high ratings, I think, on Goodreads. There's 1,748 people rated it, and it's got an overall star rating of 4.23. And so that is good ratings. Somebody's put, this was so good I couldn't put it down. 8 driverless cars, that's it. So I knew 8 was in there somewhere. So I'll leave you with that thought. I hope there's some in there that you like the look of, especially if you're a big fan of historical fiction, have a look at those. I thoroughly enjoyed them. I'm really on a bit of a historical kick at the moment. I've got a few more that I'm liking the look of, that hoping to get to soon. You can't beat a good old cosy, and none better than our Hamish. And yeah, let me know if there's any that you like. Have a good chat with me. As always, you know I love to have a chat in the comments down below. I'd like also to say a big thank you to all my new subscribers, and thank you. I mean, there's all my lovely subscribers that have been with me from the beginning, but since March Mystery Madness, I've really had quite a lot of new subscribers. So we're getting there slowly. We're getting nearer that 1,000, which is my goal, is to get to that 1,000. That'd be a big dream come true for me. So anyway, let me know how you are, and I'll see you again next time. Bye for now. Oh, hang on a second. I forgot the news. I'm always doing this. I forget. I get that carried away with the books. Couple of things. There's a new duos coming soon. So if you're watching my duo series, the new one coming soon, and it's featuring the topic of dementia. I will have a new 5-star review coming up. You know, the 5-star review I'm doing of Books and Lala's 5-star reads from 2017. Well, obviously with all the readathons, I've not had chance to do much with that, but I've not given up on it. I'm still working my way through her books, so that will be coming up for those of you that are enjoying that. And the final bit of news, that I've been asked to participate or to join the exclusive club, the review club for HarperCollins, the publishers HarperCollins. I got an email, lovely email, asking me if I'd like to be part of this, and I'm so excited. It's quite an honour really to, you know, a big publishing house like HarperCollins. I'm really excited. We'll be involved in reviews. I'll be involved in looking at book covers and whether, you know, future book covers are going to really sell the book, if that's going to be interesting. All sorts of different things going on there, so I'm really looking forward to that. I'm still continuing with my Penguin challenge. I'm still doing that every month where I can, although I'm not sure that any of them for May were from Penguin, but anyway. Yes, so that's exciting news indeed. Thank you very much, HarperCollins, for inviting me to be part of that exclusive group. And I'll let you know more as I know more really. So anyway, bye for now.